Good morning. Mhm. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good night. Whenever you're listening to the show Beyond You TV, Poker Face Society podcast. I just want to start the show off by saying being in prison for protesting against a foreign country is wild. Being imprisoned or having legal consequences come upon you or against you because you were protesting the behavior of a foreign country is wild. So today, it's only Monday. I would like to slow the conversation way down. And so everyone could really think about what we're doing, where we're at with this. This is now, as much as I knew that the last administration had bumped his head and went all willy wonky. This administration started out great. I don't know where they're headed with things. They still have time to turn things around, but I did tell you from the beginning, I had my reservations about how strong Trump would sell out to Israel and some of the cabinet members. I didn't really trust them either. They were too gung ho. Specifically, Pete Hegseth. He's in love with the state of Israel. Is the state of Israel eating us from the inside out? Right? The state of Israel should have never been created where it was created. That was a poor judgment call. And they could only, the people that helped set this up could have only forecasted turmoil, right? It just never was going to work. They should have really been put somewhere else. That's kind of like water under the bridge because they're here now and they're very strong, right? So now I think what we have to discuss is, is their power growing more powerful than America? Right? We help create them. We help fund them. I think somewhere to the tune of $3.8 billion a year. That probably could be documented, right? It could be more if they're using other channels that aren't transparent. Me personally, I think this is a dangerous precedent that we're setting. So the other day, I did a show about Donald Trump going after the pro-Palestinian protester, right? And it wasn't so much about the protester, but it was about the precedent of the whole thing. I found it quite interesting that it's not like the guy was protesting and Donald Trump found out on the spot and he was watching TV and he was like, "Oh, there's a protest going on right now in Columbia University. Yeah. Who's that guy right there? Yeah. Take him down." That's not what happened, right? So these people were protesting, and this guy was targeted and remembered, right? Probably had the mic at one point, bullhorn and all that. I said, "Oh." So they investigated him. Why'd they investigate him? Right? Why did they investigate anybody at that protest if nothing violent was spoken about? If something violent was spoken about, if there was language that kind of like alluded to the fact, like, yo, these people might It might get way more aggressive than just picketing and yelling. Then I understand the United States position. But my question is, why'd you investigate him in the first place to even know, like, yo, your immigration status, this, that, and the third? Is that obviously it's common, right? So it's a rhetorical question when I say is that common. But it's kind of like, why? People can't protest? Or people can't protest against Israel? But it was the language after for me. It was the language after. It was like, yo, this is just the first of many protests, arrests to come, consequences for the people who speak out against Israel. Yo, that's a crazy statement, bro. What are you talking about? You talking about watching something burn down to the ground? I think that's what we're watching. I mean, Jesus. And to think we adults, right? Donald Trump, everybody, all the people in the Senate, congressmen, we was once kids in America, just little kids that would one day grow up to run America. And I can guarantee you, when we was younger, this was not the America we was in. And now that we're older, you would think we would have some more maturity. You would think we would have more um, allegiance to this here country. No, it's the exact opposite. It's what I've been saying. People are grabbing things as they're running out of this burning building and saying, yo, it's going to burn anyway. There's no way to save it. And it looks like a lot of people are already siding with Israel and decided, like, yo, that they're going to be the new superpower. So I'm just going to show my allegiance right now to them. Preemptive. Good morning, observing the facts. And this is a sad thing to see, man. I want to look at some of these laws. Matter of fact, let's listen to some audio. Let's do that. I'm gonna try only to be here for an hour if I can. I really don't want to be here more than an hour, but let's have a good time while I'm here. Let's focus on that. Mm, mhm. I think I have that bill set up. Give me a second. We got the bill right here. So that's going to be S.4127. I think that's the bill he's talking about. To provide for the consideration of a definition of anti-Semitism set forth by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance for the enforcement of federal anti-discrimination laws concerning education programs or activities for other purposes. No audio? Oh, okay. We'll play that again. Thanks, Remnant. I hate when StreamYard plays with me. They do this all the time. It's ridiculous. Big TV, what's good with you, bro? Number one, the Holocaust did not happen in the United States. That's number one, right? I'm saying that is because, no matter how passionate you feel about or horrible you feel about what happened, we have to stay focused on America. That is just me talking because no one is staying focused on America. These politicians, and you have to question them, right? And I looked at who had supported this bill, by the way. So if you come here and let's see, you can kind of see the sponsors. Had the sponsors up. Let me see if it's going to show me the sponsors here. I had the sponsors. Senator Tim Scott push for this bill? Hold on. That's crazy talk. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Really? Really, bro? You took the money, huh? He took the money. Jesus Christ. In May 2023, Scott declared his candidacy for the 2024 Republican Party presidential nomination. You took the money. Trying to become president. This is exactly proving my point. People are running around taking the money from AIPAC, taking the money from Israel. And a lot of this money is from U.S. aid. What are we doing? It's money laundering, just to say the least. I mean, that's the least. Money laundering. Just printing money and then just shuffling it around until it gets into the hands of whoever. But obviously, there's a coordinated system to cipher the money. And this is culture at this point. It was very rampant. Elon Musk and Trump say they're going to do something about it. I don't know. Can they really stop all of this? Can they stop this behavior? Or did what they do just highlight this is what's been going on? And then they kind of stopped a few of the small things, but they didn't stop the big stuff. Or did they? Or are they still working on it? But this has to stop. America's going to fall. I'm not saying this because I want it to fall. I'm saying this because of the actions that's taking place. I guess the next step is for Israel to start getting shout out to Venezuela. Reyes is in Venezuela. You on your way to work for more overtime, bro? What you doing up? Spoke to you late last night. You back at the job? You're not playing, bro. I'm gonna talk to my people about them not deporting you, bro. You one of the good ones, Venezuela. Don't let nobody tell you different. He's a hard worker. He's a hard worker. I called Venezuela one time. He was in Venezuela on vacation. He had $10,000 cash and a mountain of cocaine. He was in a tent with a pregnant woman. I said, Jesus, you live life different. Yep. These are the facts. He had $10,000 cash. He was living in a tent, staying in a tent. I guess it was the local Airbnb. Mountain of cocaine and a pregnant woman on his side. Jesus Christ. Yep. I'm gonna speak to my people. Make sure you stay over here. One of the good ones. This guy has me. I didn't even know what Tim Scott looked like, right? Now, if you're asking yourself, am I judging him because he's black? Yes. Let me not sugarcoat it. I am judging Tim Scott for pushing an anti-Semitic bill. I am. Yep. He doesn't have to be pro-black. No, he doesn't. It doesn't matter though. I'm still out here judging you, Senator Scott. And that's not even the main reason I'm judging you. Because I know that senators get away with so much. Right? So my thing is, damn, bro. Can we focus on America? You are seriously out here pushing. The last face I expected to see was your token Negro showing gums in your photo. Out here pushing for anti-Semitic legislation. I guess it hit harder when we know our own we know our own history, right? I know our history. See, what the Jews went through at the Holocaust, that shit happened in Germany, bro. And I did not want to get on the soapbox this morning and start talking about the Black Holocaust in the United States. I'm really trying to stay away from that conversation this morning. I am trying very hard. But Senator Tim Scott is making that very hard for me. Pause. That's crazy talk. Making it very difficult. Tim Scott. Now, I don't know what type of legislation you push for your own race. New York, you have some supporters down here too. New York, your senators are down here. This is why I said learn. Both of my senators is down here. New York, your senators is down here, bro. Florida. Not everybody is in support of this bill. Let me just read some of this. It is the sense of Congress that I'm gonna skip that part because there's a lot of legal jargon and I hate listening to legal jargon because I don't really be knowing what it's talking about. And even when I do know what it's talking about, I don't want nobody else listening to that. While such title does not cover discrimination based solely on religion, individuals who face discrimination based on actual or perceived shared ancestry or ethnic characteristics do not lose protection under such titles for also being members of a group that share a common religion. Thank you for finally saying it's a religion and it's just a group of people that could be from anywhere under one religion. Now, why we're writing laws about this, I don't know. Or any laws there to protect Christians, or any laws there to protect Muslims or Satanists, or any laws there to protect atheists. Discrimination against Jews may rise to a violation of such title when the discrimination is based on race, color, national origin, which can include discrimination based on actual perceived shared interest. Get out of here. Get out of here. There does appear to be one color anyway. And what is race? So why would you say race and color? Race and color have nothing to do with someone's national ID. This is what I'm saying. It's so ridiculous. The Jews have such a large membership because the fact that they do not have to all have the same national ID, and most of them don't. But to move like you do have the same national ID is crazy when we know you don't, right? So this is not about race. Most of them are Caucasian, all right? That's that. That's not why we're talking about the Jews, because they're white. Hitler was white, allegedly. They were white, allegedly. So this is not about, I don't think it's about color at all. Number 4 says it is the policy of the United States to enforce such title against prohibited forms of discrimination rooted in anti-Semitism. See, that word there is bullshit. That doesn't mean anything, that word. To them, in their dictionaries, it means the opposition of Jews and let me correct that. The hatred of Jews. However, just because someone disagrees with someone Jewish doesn't mean they hate you, bro. To this day, I don't hate you. I disagree with you. And I call you out, and I may use some strong language calling you out. Like, it's bullshit. Because I raise my voice and say it's bullshit, does that mean I hate you now? No, doesn't. I'm just calling you out the same way your father would call you out and yell at you. What the hell are you doing? What are you, some fucking retard? Right? Does he hate you now because he called you out for doing something stupid? Doesn't hate you. Anyway, let's see what else type of nonsense Tim Scott is putting this bill. Rooted in anti-Semitism as vigorously as against all other forms of discrimination prohibited by such title. As noted in the U.S. National Strategy to Counter Anti-Semitism issued by the White House. Really? May 25th, 2023. You see, while we're paying attention to BS, the AIPAC and Israel are slowly lobbying all the people they can, and they're quietly encroaching on our national rights here in the United States. So it's slowly progressive, right? Incremental. You could barely see it until you can't help but see it, like this morning. And I'm like, hell no, what is going on? And my friends reach out to me and they say, your podcast It's good, but you know you would go way further if you didn't mention the Jews. Over my dead body. Over my fucking dead body. Will I let charlatans just take over America without me saying a goddamn word? They gave me a microphone. I'm just saying what I observed, bro, and saying how I feel. This is not, Israel is not the United States. How many times have they overstepped their boundaries? Not just with Palestine, bro. Do remember the USS Liberty. People fucking died, bro. Is that not enough for us to really wake up and be like, listen, unless we're in on it, which, my opinion, we were in on it. I don't want to start conspiracy theories this morning. So whenever I feel strongly about something, I will say I feel that way. I'm not going to say, yo, this is what happened. The United States was down. They could have been. I'm just telling you how I feel. They was in on it, which means that we have this United States has been infiltrated. And anytime anyone suspects anything and they speak out, what they're doing is they're putting in laws that will prevent you from saying such legally, not morally, legally now. Like they tried the moral route by saying anytime you mentioned as soon as you said "ja," it was like, oh, anti-Semitism. Like, yo, bro, I didn't even finish the word. Okay, go ahead, finish the word. The Jews, I knew it. Anti-Semitism. America, we have to band together. We can't wait for politicians. We cannot wait for politicians. I'm asking for all Americans to put aside your differences, please. Let's just start there as we mobilize, because it's the mobilization that's going to be more difficult, because they put things in place where they don't want people to group together, band together. This is by design. So the first thing they can't control is our mindset. They cannot control our mindset yet. I mean, I seen someone mention the Elon Musk flob, the what's the mind thing he had, the thing that goes on the brain. They're working on it. Trust me, they're working on it. But for right now, they can't control our mindset. And here's the mindset. Understanding their decisive tactics. That's number one. They're going to use race. They're going to use, when they run out of those options, they create more, like they did with the transgender people, right? They just created more. They keep splitting atoms. Okay, black against white is not working as potent as it was before. Okay, how about we try this? Let's create another group out of the gays and the homosexuals, the transgenders. We fund them, right? It's wild. Then we off to the races hating a new group now. But they made sure that we had a big gripe with the transgenders, right? Which wasn't a group earlier. Like 2 years ago, you wasn't a group. How'd you become such a strong group? You had to have resources. You have to have funding and backing. We have to start to understand the tactics that's used against us. They say no weapon formed against me shall prosper. These are weapons formed against us. They say we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness in high places. This is the spiritual wickedness in high places. Before it said against principalities, it said against governors. That was the wording. This is why you have to go back and you have to read different translations of the Bible. Then you will see words change over time. Before it said principalities, the word was governors. These are the actual governors that we're talking about, the senators, the congressmen. This is spiritual wickedness in high place. What does it say down here? It says, as noted in the U.S. national strategy to counter anti-Semitism issued by the White House on May 25th, 2023, it is critical to increase awareness and understanding of anti-Semitism, including its threat to America. What the fuck are you talking about, Tim Scott? Oh, South Carolina. South Carolina. You know, I was going there for freaking my summer vacation. I don't know if I'm going there now. You just rubbed me the wrong way, Tim Scott. And this show wasn't even about you. I'm just surprised to see you up there smiling like a fucking coon after you took the money. And you write this law and increase awareness and understanding of anti-Semitism, including its threat to America. What fucking threat? They're the threat to America. Improve safety and security for Jewish communities. Jesus Christ, this fucking guy. People of his own melanated skin tone don't have good fucking books in their school, right? They're going through so much shit where their youth are running to the prisons at this point. And you would think a man that hit this type of success, he hit senator, right? Here I am, a lowly YouTuber with so many ideas to change these things around. Starting with, how about the extra funding for prevention? Now, look at how much money we threw at. I'm going to give you guys my idea, right? Because I gave it to New York. New York liked it. Mount Vernon didn't. Mount Vernon decided that my idea, here was the thing. I'm going to tell you straight out. I had an idea to pay the students to learn, right? So at the time, because all I did was switch it when I gave it to the federal government. When I gave it to Mount Vernon, New York, I said, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to pay. The grant was for like $2 million, right? I said, we're going to pay the students to learn, right? And if they don't keep their grades up, they're going to get cut. It was a stipend. But for a high schooler, $200, you know, even a month is good. And what they were learning was, at the time, it was not artificial intelligence. Oh, so what they were learning was how to become an IT professional, right? And the whole idea was that they stayed in the program, get good, not just good grades, but you had to get good grades to stay in the program. But while you was in the program, I was going to make sure that you got a certificate from one of the leading certificate acknowledgement companies, right? Like AWS was a really big company at the time. And I said, okay, when you graduate, you won't have a college diploma, but what we could do is make sure that you have 2 to 4 years working experience, because I was going to also get them jobs that they worked on and projects to work on, plus a certification. So now you have everything for your resume to go right into the workforce and not just be out here. Like, you could go from high school to $80,000 a year. And that's why I called the program Pipeline to Corporation. And the real deal was, some people on that board I had worked with before at City Hall, at the Mount Vernon City Hall. And I was a vendor at the time and they was paying me. But this would have changed things around. And it's kind of like, okay, he's not a vendor no more. He's one of us. Don't let him in. Gatekeeping shit. Don't let him in. Right. And the other thing was we've been getting that money quietly. This whole time we've been getting that money. Don't let him in. We don't know him like that. He been a vendor. Oh, they didn't want us. Second thing was they didn't want that money to go to them kids. Right? They don't really be giving a fuck, bro. Nonetheless, I had to sit by while because they announced who they give money to and what programs pass. They actually did pass a gentleman who wanted to bring convicts to the movies on the weekend, and they gave him like 125 to 175,000. I think it was 125. And I was like, what the fuck? Right? And then they was just twisting my arm, and it was like, well, it's too much of the budget. Like, if you know what I'm saying, like it's too much that you're asking for. So I kept coming down. When I came down, they said, well, at this point, we don't believe that that's going to be enough money for your program. So we're going to pass. And the people that gave it out, the money out from New York State, they was just like, sorry, Jamel, we don't. It was like, I like your program, but all we do is give it out. And I really wish they would have. I spoke up on your behalf and urged them to give you some of the money, but they didn't want to give you none of the money. And was nothing we could do. I said, don't worry about it. So the Green Deal came out, and I had filled out that whole application. And I had reached out to some friends and everything. And I'm like, yo, help me with the application. And they didn't fucking help. Right. And to this day, it's puzzling because it's like people were telling me, yo, hey, I got friends that grant write. I'm like, I need a fucking grant writer, bro. I'm writing this shit myself. I'm going to fuck up somewhere. Like, you're telling me that. But, I don't know. Other people's priorities, your priorities, not other people's priorities. Right. But obviously, I would have made sure they was okay later. Like, you're good. In the end, I didn't get it because of a small mistake that could have probably been prevented if people would have fucking helped when you needed them to. And this is why people have attitudes when they finally do break through and get on, because it's like, motherfucker, you wasn't really like, what the fuck? When I needed you to do a small thing, god damn. Anyway, that's the same idea I gave to the federal government because they asked, what are you going to do with this money? I told them the same thing. I just changed it around. Right? We're going to run programs. I'm going to set up schools, learning centers in New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania. And we're going to teach them how to install solar panels, right? And they're going to be paid to do it. Now, I say all of that because maybe instead of Senator Tim Scott out here lobbying for the Jewish religion, maybe he could focus on the underfunded schools and the overpopulated prisons, and to bring those numbers down, you're gonna have to catch those kids when they're young, man. You can't catch them at fucking 18. You got to catch them younger than that, Jack. So the same way we're putting billions into these other countries, Egypt, $1.3 billion a year. As I'm about to play the audio, and you're gonna find out. We're giving Egypt $1.3 billion a year. We're giving all these other countries billions of dollars a year. And here we sit with fucking food lines running up and down the street every week. The youth are running to jails. They're not equipped for society. We could have caught them. We can catch them. We can catch them at an earlier age. Because I don't know how many kids is turning down hundreds of dollars. You talk about make America great again with the amount of money we're spending, it wouldn't be a waste. The return on investment would show itself immediately. Immediately, it would show itself. So this is more sinister. This is something way more sinister. This is they don't want us to flourish. That's what this is. Let's take a listen. To this here. Now, they said the audio wasn't playing before because they StreamYard be on his jackass shit. So I'm going to reissue. All right. Hopefully, we're going to have the audio this time. Let me know.
Of those who support a Palestinian state, should it be scrutinizing the speech of anybody in America?
No, it should not be. And again, I presume they're trying to use some law, hopefully, to apply that scrutiny. We've done a fairly poor job of defending the First Amendment here in Congress. There was even a bill last year that made passages of the Bible of the New Testament would have made it illegal on campuses, and because they said it would be, some of the things were anti-Semitic, and to define anti-Semitism, they used the legislation, instead of defining it in the bill, they pointed to a website in the bill that's not even hosted in the United States that gave examples of anti-Semitism. And I've never seen such a poor piece of legislation come to the floor. In that instance, even several of my conservative colleagues who are very, pro-Israel said, "I'm sorry, this is too much. We can't vote for this. We can't make it illegal. We can't make it a crime for people to say certain things."
Right, right.
So I found this interview recently of Thomas Massey. He's one of the few Republicans that has a backbone when it comes to Israel. He voted against giving.
I'm sitting here thinking about your comment, Big TV, and I think I will write to sit down with Senator Tim Scott. I think I will. Let's see what happens. Obviously, he didn't get elected for president. Let's see what happens.
Funding to Israel several times, and when this bill came out about calling everything anti-Semitic, he actually opposed it. And one of the things I wanted to say about this bill is that people aren't paying enough attention to it. And oftentimes when that happens, that's when something scary can happen, where the bill actually goes through. And I hope that never does.
Exactly. That's why I do these type of shows, to bring awareness, right? It's just a little check-in with the people every once in a while. I don't mind talking about, I want to talk about a bunch of things. I don't never just want to talk about one thing all the time. I may wear the algorithm out like I did with politics, but then once the magic is gone, YouTube shut that shit down. Okay, I'm back out here in these YouTube streets, and I want to talk about everything at this point, right? But we have to discuss certain things need to be mentioned. Otherwise, you won't have any awareness of it. And like he said, the gentleman just said, that's when these bills get passed.
Does, but it basically defined what anti-Semitic meant, and it meant everything basically. Oh, you criticize Israel, anti-Semitic. You're anti-Zionist, anti-Semitic. And when you get to a point like that, if that bill goes through and then it becomes illegal to say that kind of stuff, that is a big attack on the First Amendment. And I commend Thomas Massey for not giving in and opposing these bills.
What influence does AIPAC have on members of members of Congress?
Well, I just sent out a tweet about an hour ago, peeling back another layer of the onion here. And here, let me give you an example. In 2013, there was a coup underway. Like, there was a military overthrow of the Egyptian government. And we've been sending them $1.3 billion a year for as long as I can remember, and ever since I've been in Congress. Back in 2013, I thought, if we're not sure who's in charge of the...
Yo, let's just stop. What are you talking about? You've been sending Egypt $1.3 billion since 2013. You understand that some of the things that we've built our economy on here in the United States, at this point, it's Jenga. It's Jenga. They don't know how to stop it without it affecting so much more. So because they allowed private prison to become a racket, even if the people who really set this initiation of private prison off are dead now. I mean, because 1865, slaves were freed, right? But it's freed to where, right? So we all know that story. It's kind of like, all right, you can stay here, but I got to charge you, right? 20 years later, private prisons were up and kicking. That was the new slavery. It had stopped in America around 1930s. It didn't stop because it was immoral. It stopped because the private prisons were using the inmates to mass produce. And at this time, there's not like a Walmart, or there's no China that's mass producing and manufacturing everything. It was the local businessmen, right? So if the local businessman is creating furniture to feed his family, and then you have a whole private prison of prisoners, black slaves, and they're producing furniture, well, the local business people got together and said, you can't do that because you're fucking up the economy. Like you can't do that. So that's why they slowed down. But then somewhere around 1972, they reinitiated private prisons, starting with the group homes in Pennsylvania as a pilot program. And ever since then, this thing has grown its own legs and taken off, right? But again, everybody's going to jump in on it and be like, yo, let's get this money. But that has obviously had dire effects. And now you just can't leave. How do you stop it when judges are eating, private prisons are feeding whole towns? Everyone works at the prison like the warehouse. There's nowhere else out here to work. This is what feeds us, right? So you got the food vending, right? You got all type of contracts that everyone is eating off of. How do you just pull that at this point? We got to keep it going. So yeah, it's pretty offensive when I see senators like Tim Scott get up there and knowing that we're wasting all of this money, and he gets up there to push a legislation for a religious group, to protect a religious group. You have to be shitting me. When there's Americans right here who need the extra fund. If we're just going to give the money away, then give it away to Americans. I beg you to give it away to Americans then. If you're just giving the money away, because there is a return on investment there that will pay off. We would be smarter. We would know how to do things. I'm in bed last night. What time is it? We're at 49 minutes. I'm in bed last night and I don't know what's going on with my wife. She's getting into this whole Instagram thing lately. So she's over there cracking up. She's like, you know this guy? She was telling me about him earlier. One of the comedians, he said something funny, but when she was laughing at his joke, she showed me. I said, I don't know this guy. She was like, is that she named one of the kings of comedy. I was like, no, that's not him. And then she kept on scrolling and she said, so what do you think they're going to do with this 14-year-old boy who shot the cop in New Jersey? I never looked that up, by the way. Let me look that up now while I'm talking to you. Oh, yep. Teen charged in Newark cop murder was firing a ghost gun. So that's what came up, right? I said they're going to charge him as an adult. She looked it up. She said they can't. There's a law in New Jersey that says under any circumstances, no matter what the circumstances is, they cannot charge a 14-year-old as an adult. So she thought that meant that the kid automatically goes free at 18. I said, that's not what that means. They can still sentence him to a certain amount of time and he'll just age out of the group home and be sent to, like, transferred to the prison and finish his sentence. She was like, what's a ghost gun? So I told her what the ghost gun was, right? And I told her how they're making them. They're using the 3D printing machines. And I said, you know, that is another problem I had because I do feel that these kids could be utilizing these 3D printing machines for good, man. We got capable and willing people here in the United States. We have to challenge them. And our politicians, quite frankly, I think have given up, right? Don't just give out the money to an entity that you know is already involved in shady business dealings, right? Meaning the money never hits the ground. If you really care, put in a little bit more effort. I don't want to hear how busy you are as a senator and I don't have time. Make the time, because what you're doing is you're meeting with foreign entities, foreign nationals, and you know, to figure out their best interests. This, i.e., Tim Scott, Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina. Obviously, you out here meeting with AIPAC and all these people that represent Israel. Israel's not the United States. It's not the same thing. It's nothing like the same thing at all. So why are you not putting more time into making sure? Like, does it, what, me, if I'm senator, okay, give me the names. I'm meeting with my staff. Give me the names of the schools that are performing the worst. I need the names of the schools that's performing the worst right now, right? Then I'm having my analysts tell me everything about that geographic zone. We're going to get to the bottom of why these children are performing so poorly. And then we're going to see what we can do to turn this thing around. So you don't have to be focused on the rest of the world, Senator Tim Scott. You just focus on your damn self. Focus on South Carolina. Right? These 3D printing. I mean, this is the time in life with all of this technology going on. We got AI. You can learn, these children can learn AI. Now, me and my daughter have been talking, and if I'm going to do it, I need to do it. I need to make up my mind. Probably this week, I need to piss or get off the pot. She wants me to run a out of school program for her and her friends and the people her age. We're discussing it. If I did it, I'm going to teach the artificial intelligence and how to program the artificial intelligence. I think they're going to like that. But imagine schools focusing on, see, what I noticed is schools focus on things very late, right? All of that coding talk, they did that way after coding was way already a thing, right? And it was already oversaturated in the industry. Learning AI, mind you, it is, I can't say it's oversaturated. I started learning AI in 2014. Learning AI, though, has evolved. So there's something called FlowWise where you know, it's not hard to learn. I don't even think you need coding, right? I have the course, I already entered the course. So I was like, oh, I could teach this to the youth. So you have that. They have the funding, obviously. He's at the federal level. He could provide the funding to buy 3D printing machines, right? The reason they're taking these 3D printing machines and creating guns with them is because they're not being challenged. One. And if you add the small thing of rewarding them with actual money, not with like fucking pats on the back, you're going to see a significant difference and change in that environment. Because he either has the choice to go over here and hang with these individuals who's doing jack shit, or he knows he's going to get this amount at the end of the week. And all he really did was what he was supposed to do, right? He didn't have to go to work, like go to an actual job. No, he just had to do what he was supposed to do. You're giving the money away anyway. And to be quite honest, a lot of that money is falling into terrorist hands, to be quite honest. How much money did you actually give that ended up in Hamas's hands anyway? That's the real question. How much money did you give away that actually ended up in ISIS's hands anyway? That's the real question. How much money did you actually give that ended up in Al-Qaeda's hand anyway? That's the real fucking question. So why are you not giving money to those people right there in your state that need the money? And at the end of the day, here we are having a show about now there's a threat for legal consequences against people who speak out against a foreign nation. This is the most absurd thing I've ever heard in all my years of living. Now, the last thing I want to talk on is something I want to get the acronym correct. BDS, the Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions Movement. The Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions Movement is a global campaign that seeks to apply economic and political pressure on Israel due to its treatment of Palestinians, right? So this is the pushback inspired by anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. Okay. However, now the United States is pushing back against the BDS, right? And they're saying it's unconstitutional. Well, you sound like a hypocrite because you're telling me Hey, you can't boycott against Israel. There's something called the First Amendment right. I can say what I want to say. So now they're trying to make laws. Right? We just seen the law that Tim Scott, not Tim Cook. My apologies, Tim Cook. My apologies. Tim Scott, Senator Tim Scott, proposed to protect the religion, but really what he's trying to do is protect the language, right? If they can group enough things that would be determined to be anti-Semitic, then, you know, maybe if you turn left on a Wednesday, that shit is anti-Semitic. Maybe if you look up during the full moon on a Thursday, that shit is anti-Semitic. There's so much that can be classified as anti-Semitic under these broad bills that it would be dangerous to do so. I like this BDS idea, right? It's basically calling for the boycott of Israeli products and institutions, divesting from companies that do business with Israel, and sanctions against Israeli government. Now we the people, we cannot put sanctions on the Israeli government. Here's the hard part. Boycotting Israeli products and institutions, well, that's going to be very difficult because of the fact that they've, quite frankly, are everywhere. AIPAC is damn near everywhere. While they've divided up everyone else. Here is a divided people. These people are not of the same national ID at all. Some people, their ancestors come from Ukraine, Russia, but they hide under the one umbrella. They gather up beneath the one umbrella that will join them together, which is their religion. And look how powerful they've become. If you listen to my show, people, as I end, where we at? Yeah, 1 hour. I gotta go. I got things to do. If you listen to my show, just know this. Let's not fall for the banana in the tailpipe. I'm not saying be a fool by far. Just because someone is not the same race as you, don't think if you go off on them for doing something stupid that you now prejudiced. No, you just went off on an asshole that had nothing to do with us banding together. I'm talking about just falling for the tricks that they put out there to make you hate the person next to you. These are tactics of theirs, and we can't allow that to happen. We have to start to mobilize together and see each other as each other's allies against the common enemy. The common enemy is not Israel. The common enemy is the buffers between us and other foreign nationalities, right? And that would be our fucking government who is selling us out. And maybe it's us that's not holding them accountable or calling them out on bullshit, which we need to start doing. Listen, my name is Jamel Saladin. This is the Poker Face Society on Beyond You TV. I gotta go. Let me see what Venezuela talking about. That is true. Uncle Andy says ghost guns are assembled from parts that have no serial numbers. That is true, but Uncle Andy, they're making ghost guns with 3D printing machines. I assure you this. I've met people who started selling these as a side hustle. I've met people who brought the freaking machine just to make ghost guns, and they sell them as side hustles. So the next threat is that our children, the next threat is going to be on 3D printing machines. They'll make them so the average person can't get them. just like the drones. Exactly, bro. All right. You guys have a blessed day. That's my show for today. Holla at y'all later. Peace out.